Hello, hello, hello! Today I'm talking with Joshua Partogi. Sorry, Josh, I couldn't do that. We talked about not getting what you want, but getting what you need and becoming a better leader. I'm Yves Hanul from Who's Agile. My pronouns are he and him. Welcome to my channel. You see a lot of agilists around me on this screen. If you want to hear me interviewing, please click that subscribe button because these are the people that I've invited so far. If you think I'm missing people, let me know in the comments. And that like button, well, if you liked today's interview, don't forget to click it. Hello everyone, and hello with me. I have Joshua. Is that how I should pronounce it? Joshua Partogi? Is that how I should pronounce it?
Yes. Thank you, Yves. Yes, that's how you pronounce it. Joshua Partogi.
And before we jump into too much on who you are, let's show already a little bit. And somehow my mouse pointer doesn't want to work.
Oh,
This is where I am in Belgium, in Europe.
right.
And let's move around the globe where you are. And then people see immediately that you're across the
Oh,
globe
yep.
in Brisbane. And
Yeah.
interestingly enough, I also interviewed Will McNillis. I'm not sure if you know him, but he's also from Brisbane, or
Mm.
actually not from Brisbane, but living in Brisbane these days. Some time ago, I interviewed him. So let's bring you back on screen. Where is the mouse pointer again?
Nice.
And on Oops. Yeah. On my side, it's let's say 17 minutes after midnight. And what is the time on your side of the world?
Yes, thank you for providing this option. So, on my side of the world at the moment, I'm from the future, I think. No. You're already past midnight, right? So, no, we're on the same time.
But still,
Um,
you're years,
yes,
not years, but hours ahead of me. So,
hours ahead, few hours from the future. 9 a.m. ish. Yes.
if I want to know about the future, I can ask you. That's always good.
What's happening in the future? You can ask me about fireworks usually because fireworks usually on New Year's we do it
Yeah,
first
true.
before everyone else.
That's indeed one of these things. Well, Joshua, for the people who don't know you, the few people who are still left there, could you introduce yourself? Who are you?
Okay. Yes. I think like what we talked about earlier, like off camera, off screen. It's a bit hard for me to introduce myself. Some people know me as a content creator. I make videos, I upload podcasts. Some people also found me as a blog writer, but that's something that I really engage a lot in the past, but lesser today. Some people like outside of the agile community know me as a life coach. So I provide one-to-one coaching, like not really related to agile.
Mm.
And majority of people would know me as a professional Scrum trainer through scrum.org. So I'm living like a lot of faces.
Actually, the lot of faces, I couldn't resist to just take a screenshot of some of the faces that you might be known for. That because of in your videos, you really play around with that.
Yeah. Wow,
I,
you already prepared that. That's awesome.
Well, yeah, your videos are just hilarious. They're both so to the point, but also the ducks, the sounds, the wigs, everything is so wonderful. But it's not just the wigs; it's also the content. I mean, the characters that you play are so recognizable. Some of the statements that are almost from with who of my clients have you been talking about? So some of these have been really interesting to watch. So actually I don't have to wait till the end. I can
So I
actually
guess that's
already
a
show that link.
global phenomenon then.
Yes,
Like
definitely,
it
and
happens like around the globe, so I'm not the only one.
exactly. So I wanted to share the link at the end, but I can already share it for the people who now are interested
Yay!
watching this. This is the Agile Comedy YouTube.
Yes, thank you. And we're also on TikTok. If you're on TikTok, I recognize, I acknowledge that uh, people like from the how can I say this without stereotyping, like um younger generation, if I can use that term, like they're on TikTok. So I'm also on TikTok if you prefer TikTok rather than YouTube.
I have a 16-year-old daughter who once forbid me to go on TikTok because she didn't want me to use the same social media as she did. So actually, I think she stopped using it, or she at some point she took a break because she felt she was too much sucked into certain things.
Mm.
I'm not sure if you still stop, but yeah, I should ask if I can start using TikTok now. But yes, but yeah, indeed, some of the videos that the short ones that you post on YouTube, I can see that they're actually related also to TikTok. Some I've seen some. I don't know if it's on Instagram or others that it. The, how would I say it? The TikTok format. Anyway,
TikTok robot.
nicely done.
Anyway.
So for let's jump into that very first question. What is something that people usually don't know about you, but that has influenced you in who you are?
That's um a really deep question. Uh, I think when I look at like the first part of the question, it seems simple. Like, what is it that
Mm,
people don't know about you? But then you read like the whole question, like I start thinking like, which make you who you are right now. I'm not sure if this applies to everyone, but for some people who've already encountered me in person or who has like engaged with me or has been in my trainings, especially the in-person trainings, I think one thing that has formed me is something that Ken Schwaber has told me, which interestingly resonate with me because what he said was something that my dad told me when I was in primary school, which is
wow.
interesting. So Ken once told me that if people hate you for doing the right thing, at least you have done the right thing. And
Mm,
similarly, my dad told me when I was in primary school, because I grew up in a culture that has lack of integrity. I won't mention where so people won't stereotype, but in this culture, um, like the common phenomenon that I see, that my parents see daily on the news is like corruptions, bribing, red taping, etc. And my dad, he works for the government and he experienced, and I see it with my own eyes too. He experienced where his career cannot go up because he does not want to get involved with those things like corruption, bribing,
mm,
etc. So I grow up with sort of hatred towards the behavior, not the individual who does it, but those kind of behavior, like lack of integrity, corruption, bribing, etc. So I grew up with those kind of hatred towards the behavior, and how that behavior just becomes the norm in the society where I grew up in. And then interestingly, I several years later, I grew up as an adult. I attended a class that was taught by Ken Schwaber. For some of you who does not know Ken, he's one of the co-founder of Scrum besides the other half, Jef Sutherland. So
Usually,
what he
more
did,
people know Jeff, but I think indeed Ken is the person that yeah has had a
yeah,
tremendous
but it's so
influence on many
interesting. A
people.
lot of people, a lot of Scrum practitioners these days don't know who Ken is. So that's why I would like to note that.
Yeah, thanks
Anyway,
for mentioning him. But it's I think it's really important that people know that there's actually two starters, and the first book about Scrum was not even written by the two of them, or at least the first one that I read was by a gentleman called Mike
Mike
Beadle.
Beadle, yeah,
Yeah,
Mike
so
Beadle,
who's unfortunately no
that
longer
black
with
book
us.
with rainbow
Yes,
font. and the culture.
Exactly. So that's,
Anyway,
yeah, this is part of the history. This is also part of why I want to do this, because I've noticed that I'm very interested to learn about the young people and the new things that they're doing in agile, because this is the future. But it's also good that people realize that, hey, we have a lot of knowledge. And who was it? I think someone told me, like, there were people that don't know Jef Patton. I was like, what? How could people not know Jef Patton? Because he's written so much important things about user story mapping, even people doing it. Yeah, I have lots of other examples, but thanks for bringing up Ken, because I think it's an important thing to mention this. So what did Ken tell you?
yeah, yeah. Um, i- there was one topic. Interestingly, it was about the definition. Whoops! It was about the definition of done.
Mhm.
Um, and making like the quality that you need to put in place in the product transparent. That's what the definition of done is. And he mentioned that people may hate you for like bringing that up, because all this time some people, especially from the leadership level, that like to get things fast, and they often overlook quality. And then somehow he just brought that
Mm.
up, and because of that reason, you're telling the truth. Agile does not necessarily means like pushing more things faster. Sometimes you can actually be slower, but that's okay if it's sustainable, because you want to maintain integrity, because
Mm.
you're somehow you just kind of tie it to like brand image of the company. And sometimes if you cut corners, that may like sacrifice your brand image. Your customers may not trust you because you're delivering like half baked products. And people in your company may hate you for telling the truth. And then somehow he just kind of segue it to, and if people hate you for telling the truth, at least you have done the right thing. At least you have told the truth. So don't bother if people hate you for telling the truth. And I really like that. And also somehow tying to what we discussed earlier about the younger generation today who learned, or maybe I should call it late adopters, right? Um, so we're not stereotyping people, like the late adopters of like agile or the late adopters of Scrum. Somehow they're more interested with the I would say the cosmetic of it, like just the cover or like just the wrapper of it, but not really interested to get deeper into like the difficult things, like the hardcore things, like integrity, transparent, honesty. And that's what I actually like about, well, Scrum itself. Like that's how I first fell in love with Scrum. And because that aspect, like integrity, is what I grew up with. It's what my dad like raised me with. Like he keep on saying it like every morning, like when we go to school, when he dropped me off to school, like he keep on saying it. So that's one aspect that I really like, but I found that it's rarely emphasized these days in the community. When I see like practitioners, they're debating about agile, about Scrum. Most often it's about like the mechanics, like
The
the
mechanics,
sugar
yes.
of it, right? Like not the hard nitty gritty stuff. Yeah.
I really like that. And indeed, as asking the people what are the Scrum values, if people know it, and a lot of people like, well, there's no values in Scrum. Well, there is. Yeah, it's interesting. I really like that. And it reminds me also of a phrase that a friend of mine used to say, is that people at and I think it's partially because I'm older now, but many people at some point in your life will hate you, and they might just as well hate you for doing the right thing than hate you for doing the wrong thing. Because at least, indeed, like you say, then you're doing the right thing. If they will hate you anyway, so yeah, you might as well do the right thing. And that triggered a lot of stuff with me, indeed, because at some point you can't do good for everyone. So I might as well do the thing that I believe in for the values that I believe in. And if people hate me for that, at least it's my belief. And of
And
course,
interestingly, like to your statement, sometimes doing things that people uh, like love you may not necessarily the right thing, right?
mm,
Um, so I think that's like that. There's going to be a fine line. Like, what do you want to be seen as? If you're
yeah.
chasing popularity, you may like do the wrong thing, like just to be popular, but it's the wrong thing. Or you can do the right thing, but may not lead you to popularity or gain attraction in the market or in the space where you're working.
The way you said it, I'm not sure, but it immediately triggered me to an older Rolling Stones song, like you can't always get what you want, but sometimes you get what you need, and that's a little bit what it felt like. Yeah, it's indeed sometimes people will not like it, and if you hire me or you for helping out, well, you hire me because I will tell you things that you don't know or you don't see, because if you would see it yourself, you would not need me. And in a way, I'm there to help you seeing stuff that maybe you even see it, but you're not ready to accept or whatever. And that's part a little bit where I think a lot of us are there to show a mirror of reality.
Mm.
And this
And
is also partially why I like the videos so much, because they're so recognizable. You're not saying this corporation or that corporation. You just, yeah, you make the characters, you blow them up a little bit, but still, and there are actually conversations that I've seen with clients that are way worse than some of the things that you've been saying. So I think that is part of it. Yeah, I really. But I like it how you what for me in this story, what I like so much is there is that link to your father growing up and being in an environment where, yeah, he wanted to do the right thing. It blocked him. It blocked him from getting higher up in pay grades or in roles or whatever.
yeah,
But he insisted that, hey, Joshua, I know this, but I prefer to stay honest and to do the thing that I want to do. And you grow up becoming a Scrum trainer and helping companies doing basically the same thing, in a way that I keep my values and I do it. And I assume that, or at least with me, I have already lost clients because I've said the truth. I assume that it's similar for you as well. But in the long run, I believe in this is the right thing to do, and this is my little, and that's a little bit what I hear. This is your part of changing the world and doing something better.
yeah. And it's interesting when I look back, you may not get like the majority of clients or people, but in the long run you get the right people also, like people who believe in those values like integrity, like honesty,
Mm.
transparency. You get the right people, and when you get the right clients, you have so much joy working with them because they also have the same belief.
Right. That's yeah, I so recognize that. So this is already a very interesting story, and like you say, yeah, it's indeed. I'm still praise myself lucky because I invented these questions more than 10 years ago in less than 5 minutes, and I'm still surprised about indeed how I don't know what I've eaten or yeah, I don't drink alcohol, so I didn't. There was nothing substantial involved in that, but I was somehow inspired, and indeed, it's it, they. bring a lot of interesting conversations. So thanks for
Yeah,
joining into that.
yeah.
Let's
That's a good
let's move.
question, and you put it as a first question.
Well, let's see if
The most
there's
difficult
more
question.
questions. So the next one is, if you had not been doing what you've been doing now, do you have any idea of what would have become of you? Was there something, for example, when you're young that you were destined to become or that you wanted to become?
Yeah, I've always wanted to work in a creative space, something that where I can be creative, just create, basically, just create something without like following the norms. So when I was I would go like just to uni because when I was in high school, I don't know what I was doing. Honestly, I don't know what to do with my life. But when I was in uni,
This is good for the teenagers and the youngsters to hear, and even the 20 years. Like, I think there's many people who had that. Yeah, like somehow we think that we needed to have our life together by I don't know. When you're 12, you think, oh, when I will be 16 or 18, I'll have my life together. Not much.
but that's actually I taught my son like that's the best time when you want to grow yourself when you're at that teen age because you have so much time to explore experiments etc. Anyway, when I
Mm.
was in uni, I was interested with creating animations and video editing, edit videos. So back then Adobe Premiere already exists, and I tried to create like 3D animation. I'm not sure if you've heard of it, like 3ds Max. I think the last time I checked, the company got acquired or something. And another software called Maya. So both of those 3ds Max and Maya are a software like to create 3D animations. And Adobe Premiere
Mhm.
is for editing like the whole timeline. And my computer keeps on crashing, and because my dad, he only works he's a civil servant, so he does not have enough money like to buy me like the most advanced computer. At least like with the computer he provided me, I can do all of my university uh tasks. I can get it done. So I
But
feel
you
bad.
wanted to do other stuff.
Yeah, but like to render video, like a computer that advanced, he wouldn't support me. Like, why? Like, you can do the basic stuff to complete your university task. So I gave up my dream on that because of that reason. Because I don't have any powerful computer to render video, to render 3D animations. And few years ago, 3 years ago, COVID happened. Somehow I kind of fell into it, into what I used to want to be. Um, and I didn't realize, like, when I integrated with what I know in this case, like Scrum and Agile, a lot of people found value from the videos. There was a lady a few months ago from the US who sent me a private message how she was inspired after listening a podcast that I recorded, even though like I didn't have much thought when I recorded that podcast. um, so now I'm actually going back to what I wanted to be when I was in my 20s, like
Hmm.
recording videos, or in general just create something, right? Just create, and videos
You
is
wanted
just
to
one
be
medium for
creator.
creating.
Yeah.
Yeah, creator.
And
Yeah, interesting. Now they call it as the term for is content creator, right? You
mm,
create
right.
something. It may be videos, it may be podcasts, or maybe what you're doing right now. Yeah.
It's interesting that, and you're not the first one who's on the show that actually has some similar experience. Like, I wanted to do that. There was some kind of blocking, And then while talking, they realize, hey, wait a minute, I'm actually doing something that is very similar for, yeah, it's different because you don't use the tool anymore. I just checked it. Autodesk bought 3ds Max, and they discontinued part of it. I don't know. I don't want to read it now, but I saw something like Autodesk stopped publishing or something like that. So yeah, the software, but it's probably a lot of years ago that you wanted to go into that. And so maybe let's jump a little bit before that. What inspired you to try out that software and to learn about it? How did you learn about that? Because there was no
Uh,
YouTube at that time, I assume.
no, yes. I think I watch a lot of animation, 3D animation movies in theaters. I think
Mm,
there were quite a few back then. If I'm not mistaken, Pixar already made several like 3D animation, and like I was just so inspired because how back then because like how the world moved like from two-dimensional cartoons into like 3D, like that just kind of inspired me.
mm. That's so yeah. That I wanted to add that a little bit because these days my kids learn everything from YouTube and they find it so logical that you get inspiration from all of that stuff. But yeah, I at least grew up, and I assume for you as well, without having all of these options. And so yeah, my son, my 21-year-old son, he's like, how could you even use a computer without the internet? Well, there was a big generation that did
It
that.
was a dial up back then, right?
But
The
even
phone
for
used to
him,
ring.
even for him, the idea that before you could use a computer without having dial-up internet, that it was just standalone, that was like you had CDs, DVDs, and everything using. How could you even do that? Yeah, that was a generation before even, um,
That
and when
means
there
we're
were
really
problems.
old, right? We're already
Yes, that
very.
mean our age is showing. Uh, but then again, my father used to work with the very first computers in Belgium, and these ones didn't would not even fit my house. And yeah, these are the big ones there. That probably my phone today has more memory and more hardware than they even had back at that moment. So the things have been changing, and a lot in that. But thanks for adding that. That it's a nice story because like you say, you wanted it and yeah, you moved on, and a little bit you find it back, and probably there is a little bit more. Well, the tools have become, I would say, cheaper or more available. Probably there is a little bit more money. I'm not sure. That depends a little bit because it's very tempting in IT to keep spending money on lots of gear. Not always
Yep.
sure that is yeah, I think some of the creativity doesn't always come from the extra gear, like we just
Yep.
discussed before. We can keep spending ideas on having gear, and that will create all that creativity. No, we need to have that also before. Uh, so I want to move to that next question. What do you consider your biggest challenge, or at least the biggest challenge right now? And this also a second part. Why is that a good thing for you?
Okay. So uh this is just a joke, okay? Paying the mortgage would be my biggest challenge right now because the interest rate just keeps on hiking up. No, that's just a side joke.
You didn't block it at the maximum thing. Well,
Yeah,
I don't
no,
know
yeah,
what's your interest rate,
we
but
already got like interest rate rise for the 13th time in Australia,
mhm.
and if like 2 days ago the interest rate was raised again by the central bank. Anyway, that's just a joke.
Well, it reminds me of when my parents bought a house years so before I was born, even. No, actually, I was already born, but they had an interest rate of like 17 or 18% at that time.
Really, it was higher
So
back then.
yeah, so when I hear these kind of stories, I'm like, okay, we're probably still okay. It can get worse. The advantage was for them is that the money you get on the money that you have on the bank account was also a lot higher. so you could actually save and get an interest rate. That's interesting. Uh, Not that they had much money on their bank account, but that's a different story. Um,
Okay, now the serious stuff.
yeah, the serious
I think
answer.
my my biggest challenge at the moment is staying relevant, but at the
Mm.
same time keeping focus. And more specifically, knowing how to say no, because with
Mm.
the world we work right now, how people interact, sometimes you can get a lot of offers. Hey, would you like to do this? Would you like to do this? Um, hey, jump into a meeting with us. I want to talk something with you. Do you have a time that I can book? Can we do a Zoom call, etc.? And then, without realizing, somehow my calendar are fully blocked. Um, so knowing how to say no would be one of the biggest challenge, especially in the world we work right now. But at the same time,
With
staying
the world
relevant.
right now, you mean the whole digital one where you can have conversations with
Mm,
people around the world, or what do you mean?
yes, like remote working, work from home. I think this is like a very simple example. Back then, when people are fully working from the office, if they have something to ask, they would just tap you on the shoulder. It can be just a less than 5 minutes conversation, but now it can be like an hour Zoom call conversation
Mm.
or a Microsoft Teams conversation, right? Hey, can I jump into a Zoom call with you to talk about this? And then without realizing, you already like spent one unproductive hour in Microsoft Teams or Zoom, right? Yeah, working from home and remote working, knowing how to say no to those kind of invites or opportunities, and also staying relevant, like what we have discussed earlier about tools, gears. I think there's more and more software or tools these days for remote working collaboration. I think in the early days of COVID, I only know like Miro and Mural as I think the top two like online collaboration board. But now like new ones are keeps on popping up, right? In the early days of COVID, I only know Zoom until Microsoft Teams updated itself. But now we have a lot more. I think I've heard there is this tool where you can feel like you are in a physical space, Gather, if I'm not mistaken. And then I just realized this tool until today when you invite me to this live stream, right? So I think staying relevant is important, but also the dilemma is like, how do you stay focused? Because there's so
Mm.
many things you can learn. There's so many things you can do, but you only like have 24 hours. And I also, similar like you, like what you said earlier, you mentioned how you kind of stopped going to conferences because you've got kids who are growing up and they need time to be with you and they need parenting also. Um, so beyond that, I also have kids to raise. If I'm too busy, if like I have all of my calendars blocked, my kids may not have time with me, and when they grow up they don't even know who their parents are,
Who's
who
that
their
strange man in
children
that in our house?
yeah. Yeah, I think that's the challenge that I see these days, like when I flash back in the past 3 years. Yeah, so keeping
And
keeping
that second part, is there anything that is good about that challenge for you?
the keeping focus or the staying relevant.
We, both of them, whatever you want to choose. Is there something that is for you good about that challenge?
I think it has um, made me ask myself, what do I want to be? You know, uh, th- like I can like continuously learn to stay relevant, or continuously renew myself to stay relevant. But um, at the end, I also need to ask myself, what do I want to be? Because without knowing that, then I will not have focus, right?
Mm,
In fact, like in relation to trainings, because I deliver training with Scrum.org, for example. Um, they have lots of portfolios of trainings now. Now, even in the middle of this year, I have asked myself, people have asked me, "Hey, can you deliver this training? Hey, can you deliver this training?" Um, but then I asked myself, like, I can deliver that training, but is that what I want to be, like, delivering contents in that training material? Is that something that connects with me? Does that training reflect myself? So I start saying no. I'm not enjoying like delivering this training material. It doesn't reflect who I am when I'm presenting it. So it has brought me to ask like a very fundamental question. So I guess that's the good thing.
mhm,
With all of these plethora of tools, materials, learnings, like I have to ask myself, what do I want to be? Like, you can consume all of that, but does that help you to get to where you want to be? I guess that's it. Like this whole year, I kept on asking myself that question. And in fact, like I've already prepared, okay, in 2024, what do you want to be? What do you want to deliver? What services do you want to deliver? Yeah, I guess that's a good thing.
mhm. I really like the
In the
deepness of. You wanted to add something?
Yeah, I guess when I compare it with during COVID, it was a panic mode. So I'll just like consume everything. Oh, I'll do this. I'll do this because um, I suppose like many people during COVID, we are in a survival mode, if I can use that term. Like we'll just do anything um, that can provide food on the table for the family, right? But I guess now, now that COVID is over, like it's a different challenge. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I really like that you stress the survival mode for many people. I think I've seen, and there's many different ways of survival. It's indeed finding the money, but at the same time, okay, make staying safe depending on if you have fragile people in your environment and everything. I think many people sometimes, well, one thing I see is that there were people crashing in the beginning because of all these changes, and there were people who were so much into survival mode. And then when we kind of came out, I'm not sure it's fully over, but when we kind of came out, people really had to reinvent themselves and really realize, hey, wait a minute, I've been into kind of survival mode, and okay, how does this fit to me, my work, everything? I think it it, it's interesting that we were it somehow feels that we were so much quicker into adapting at the moment that COVID hit. For many agilists, at least, I see people like, okay, doing stuff that was completely out of our thing, but now when it's over, it's again a lot harder to think, wait, I have now much more options, but which one do I want to do? Is that something you recognize as well?
Yes, yes. That's something I recognize. And also, what I notice, also because of this like remote learning, remote working, work from home, uh, there's I think also the market has become saturated, if I can use that term. There's more trainers, consultants, coaches that flooded the market, right? So one of the things that I ask myself, like if I'm the same, if I'm just following the norm, like the same path that got them here, then there's nothing interesting from me, right? It
Mm,
becomes I would say it becomes a commodity also for clients. Why should I, let's say, engage with Joshua when that other bloke, that other person is similar to him, right? So it has become a commodity also, because a lot of the consultants, coaches, they got into the market in during COVID, I would say quite fast, but now we're flooded also.
mm. I recognize a lot of that as well. And okay, how do we indeed? Well, it's a little bit to what you said earlier. How do you stay relevant again in the
Yeah,
same thing or in a different way? But it's yeah, getting or staying out of the commodity, staying yeah relevant. It's it reminds me about one of your latest video was also about okay, agile is dead, and then yeah, that was actually also people thinking about how do we survive and become a commodity or when people are no longer looking into that. So I really encourage people to watch that episode because it's hilarious about and so recognizable. I'm not going to spoil the fun. People have to watch it because it's a very interesting thing. Let's move to that
yeah,
next question because you're well, you're very passionate. I see so much passion in a lot of the things that you're doing. So the next question, what drives you? Do you know where that passion is coming from? You already talked a little bit about your father and the
yeah,
values, but is there more? Is there something else?
yeah. I don't know where I got this from. I may heard of it. I think it's quite a generic statement. Um, but um, besides just working, like, do you want to just surviving, or do you want to just or do you want to thrive, right? um like when I worked like in corporations, I feel like I am like just a hamster in a wheel. I
Mm,
feel like my life is controlled by someone else that has power in the company. Like I cannot really define who I want to be. Like literally my career is in the hands of my managers or the senior leaders in the company. uh that's how I realized that I'm just surviving. I'm not thriving. And I think at one point in life I have discovered that what do you want to be remembered as? um I'm not sure if I got that from my dad or someone else, but that just kind of stuck with me. Like, what do I want to be remembered? Like when I died, right? So that kind of motivate me to bring value to people, and agile people like the term value, right? So in any work that I do, people must get value out of it. And on one hand, like with the other belief, with the other principles that I live with, not caring whether people hate me if I do the right thing. um so I try to be myself, um saying the right thing, but at the same time also make sure people like get value out of it. I think one of my um happiness is when people just DM me or send me messages. Hey, I love your work, like the contents, whether that's blog posts, um, videos, even the comedy ones. I found it, it's insightful. I gain value out of it. So, like, getting those are what motivates me. I want more people to say that, like, and it motivates me to do something better each day. And I'm easily get bored, So I don't like to do repetitive stuff like in anything that I do. So I try to do it differently the next time. So I guess that
Mm.
also my main motivation, my main driver. Like I've done that before, but how can I do it differently now? Like how can I make it different now? And I think for some people who has like worked with me, that's one of the thing they like with me because I always try to come up with something different every time. Yeah, so
That's
those are
that's
my
that,
main motivation. Yeah.
that's yeah, and I think well, you talked about getting bored. That's definitely on TikTok. We get lots of small little things, and but I stress that because this is also where, of course, if you would do the same video over and over or the same kind of jokes, people would not like it. On TikTok, I think you get, or on YouTube, you can get small little nuances about the same thing, about the same misunderstanding about agile, and every time a little bit better. That's also what I like about training. You can, I've done 5 years of technical training, and I remember that the first year I really experimented with, okay, I give this .NET training multiple times a year, and I really, yeah, that last version that I did after from the first year was completely different than the first one. But I learned so much because of questions, because of other things, because of feedback, and that is what keeps it interesting. Um, yeah, that I would also not be able to do the same thing multiple times in exactly the same way. And there are other people who love that, and that's fine as well. But it's, yeah, everybody has to look what is good for them or what they want to do, of course. And so that's what you say is that, yeah, I like to have that difference and to learn and adapt a little bit.
Yeah.
Uh, I,
So
I
I like
dig that as
to
well.
make myself uh fail every time I do something. People may not notice it.
Hmm.
I know it. Like I'm really good in covering. Just joking. So I like not only do things differently. Like how can I fail this time? Like because I'm learning something new, something that I haven't known before. I'm entering new territory, so the chance, the probability I will fail is there, right? So not only doing something new, but I also like to ask myself, how can I fail this time?
Hmm. It reminds me. I have some yeah, friends who are musicians, and I used to, well, go to concerts with them and then be backstage afterwards. And then it's like after the concerts, it's really like they're much more like, we this we do better, that we can do better, and this is, hey, this is a nice thing that you tried. And okay, because they were also, they were I remember from one of them, their top year, they were, I don't know, they played a gazillion concerts, or like 150 a year, which is a lot for a small group. But yeah, they would not do the exact same order. They would not do the exact same thing. They would every night they would play around a little bit and do something else, and that's how they got better. And yeah, they were better at interacting and yeah, and joking with the audience or whatever. I think that is what for me was interesting. I remember that year I went multiple times, more than 20 times, to the same show in a way, but it was always different, and that was interesting. If they would have played the same show exactly the same way, I probably would not have gone 5 times because as
Yeah.
as a friend, it would not have been interesting. So thanks for sharing, because I think it's also important for people to know when they see your videos or when they go to your trainings, they might say, "Oh, but Joshua has it all figured out, and this is already so many years doing." No, it's not the same training of Scrum than 10 years ago. It's been an evolving thing, and yeah, that's also good that people realize it. And I like also the fact that you stress that, okay, let's experiment a little bit with this, and that might go wrong, and that's fine because I'm learning. And yeah, that's also an important part, I think. And because of that, that kind of brings me to that next question. What do you consider your biggest achievement so far?
Yeah, this is
And maybe
a
before we go
really
there,
difficult one.
Well, that's the question I wanted to ask before. Is that easy for Joshua to, because basically this is your moment to brag. Is that easy for you to brag about something?
That's a really good one. I think related to my previous answer about what do you want to be known as. Um, so on my birthday, that was like on September 9/11. I was born on 9/11,
Wow.
1982. So everyone knows how old I am now. Um, yeah. Somebody sent me a private message. Well, she's actually one of my coachee. She engaged with me for a regular one-to-one, quote unquote, life coaching. I know some people may not like that term, life coaching, but she has been engaged with me for life coaching. And interestingly, like she sent me a message that just kind of struck me because I never thought I would have that much impact on her life. Um, so she used to be a salesperson uh, who works for a software vendor or like a third party supplier, basically going to companies to win like tenders for software development.
Mhm.
And we first met around 2014 ish, and that's how she know about Scrum, like through me, because I talk about it, and I'm passionate about it. And interestingly, she wanted to be a Scrum Master. um, she
Mm.
has no background in like tech, like she's not a programmer, she's not a software engineer, she's just a salesperson. And like to be more specific, like she create like proposals whenever companies send out RFP, and try to win that RFP, but she has no background in like tech.
And
I would.
when she want to go, just to make sure I fully understand, when she says I want to go into Scrum Master, is that for an IT team then, or does she see Scrum Master in her current role with her team, or how does it? What's the idea there?
When I look back, I think she does not have any idea where she would end up. I think
Mhm.
during those years, I think in some parts of the world, like the organization, the corporations are still, um, they're not even in early adopters phase. Like people are still skeptical. So there are only a few companies who would hire like a scrum master for full time. So she doesn't even have any clue where she would land a job as a scrum master. I think 5 years later afterwards, she finally landed a job, and she was so passionate about getting it. And I was there with her, like finding opportunities, help her out, like improve her CVs, resumes, and stuff. She finally landed a job, and then uh, afterwards, uh, I think few years later, she landed a job in a multinational company as a Scrum Master. And a few years after that, she becomes like the mentor, um, or the leader for all of the Scrum Masters in the company. And like that took her around 9 to 10 years to reach to where she want to be a Scrum Master. And now she's like a leader for every Scrum Masters in the company. And she sent me a message recently. uh Thank you so much for everything that you have done in my life. I really appreciate it. And what really struck me is when she said that, thank you for changing my life. Like I never have that kind of perception. I always live in this perception that human can't change human. You can't change any human being. You can't even tell them to do anything. Like I live with that belief. But when she said that, thank you for changing my life, and that was really deep. Not only I'm becoming a better person, I'm becoming a better leader now. I am living my dream, if I can like quote her message. I'm living my dream. I'm becoming a better leader, but most importantly, I'm becoming a better individual, a better person. Um, she said that she's more humble, she listens more, less judgmental towards people, and all of those attributes are what I kind of emphasize if you want to be a good scrum master. But all this time, I really emphasized the term Scrum Master anyway to her. And I think one part in uh, Scrum Master that a lot of people skip is the serving leader part. So I often say, like, forget about the Scrum Master part, like their duties, their job, right? Just live that, like be a serving leader and everything will follow. And somehow she felt that she's becoming a better individual because she lived that. She even implement being a serving leader in in her parenting, she said. Yeah, so I would say like that is my biggest achievement so far. Like influencing people, like I really love it, especially getting it from her because I'm engaged with her for like a while. So getting that from her, it's something for me. Wow, like I can really make an impact when people are like debating about, you know, agile, scrum, but there's like people who's able to see the essence of it, like being a scrum master is about being a serving leader, and you can implement that beyond teams. You can implement being a serving leader at an organization level, at an enterprise level, right?
I really like that as an example of, and I like also the way you started it. Like you said, you don't believe that you can change people's life, and of course, if you would start with coaching with the idea, I will make you a better human, probably would completely fail. And but people, because yeah, you can't influence the way people react to it, what they learn, what they don't learn from it, but you can just offer your best mirrors and whatever you're doing, and if people are then open and yeah, then they learn something, and she might have moved in a completely different direction than you thought, but for whatever reason she's really happy with the results. And yeah, I know I've coached people where I've had totally no idea what the result would be, and now all of a sudden they're all in a completely different direction, and somehow they link that to me. And at first that was like, for me also, I'm not, and this is why I wanted to check, I had a lot of imposter syndrome, like, yeah, it's nothing to do with me, it's all you. Do you recognize it as well? Is there a part of you that said like, oh, no, 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 it's you? Or how does that work for you?
Yes, I do agree with you. And I think over the years, I've also learned not to become too attached to certain outcome or to certain result. I agree with you. People have like their own willpower to go where they want to go, right?
Mhm.
Regardless who they hear, who, like which motivational speaker they hear, which like podcast they hear, like they can just go like towards a different direction. And I do also experience like what you just mentioned, like imposter syndrome. Oh shit, like what have I done wrong? Like this is not how it's supposed to be. But then yes, I have learned not to become too attached to it, and acknowledge that human being have that willpower. You can be the best coach, you can like practice all of the best like coaching techniques, but yet they still have the willpower not to listen to you.
But when they do, and you get a message like from this coachee,
Yeah.
is that how easy is it to let it fully in and say, okay, accept it that hey, there is a big part of that role that you played in because that's what she's saying.
Yeah, I think I consider it as an achievement because that would probably happen like one in a million.
Mhm.
Like to your point, a lot of people may enter a coaching and they may go a different ways, and they might be happy over there, right? Um, so that's why I felt wow, like that's so awesome, right? There's actually people, there's actually an individual who see a value in what I do, and she even said that it has transformed her life. Wow, that's awesome. So it's a different feeling because I'm already like settling my heart, like my feeling, not to become too attached to certain outcome or to certain results. So when I see that, wow, like that's really awesome.
That's but it's also nice that you can let it in and listen to these things because it's not always easy. But like you say, we sometimes we have to let it in and also accept it, especially because they're sometimes rare. I think that's also important that
Yeah.
we yeah, of course we do well, I do think that a lot of us, if we're coaching people, there is most of us, we have a big ego because the idea alone that we could help people is also a big ego idea. But somehow there is also a big mix that at the moment that people then say, hey, this is really you, somehow we're like, I'm not. Yeah, so that's that strange dynamic playing. So thanks for sharing that story. It's been, yeah, a very deep one and a very a touching one, I think. So that's really nice. I want to go to that next question. And do you have a personal agility tip to share? Is there something that you? Yeah.
Yeah, this is a good question because it's something that I apply to myself. Interestingly, in the past three years, um, I think you should start with what do you want to become instead of applying certain labels or what do you want to work as. I think that's a big difference because the latter, like you would be chasing, oh, I want to be an agile coach. Oh, I want to be, let's say, a scrum master. I want to be, um, I don't know, a trainer, for example. But those are labels, and there's a lot of people who wants to chase for those job titles or those labels. And if you're just chasing those labels or job titles, you might become similar, like the same, like a quote unquote commodity, like everyone else uh, have that label, but what makes you stood out amongst those people? So I think the most important question is what do you want to become as yourself first? I think this is related with our earlier conversation about staying focused. Um, I see a lot these days. And I see it in my classes. Like people are just chasing for certifications because they're chasing
Mm.
for the job title, right? Oh, I want to be a coach in company X. Oh, I need this certification so I can get into the hiring process. Um, but then you're going to be like, especially these days with the current economy. I'm not sure in Europe, but I'm like looking at Australia and the US also at the moment. Uh, you become similar, right? You're not standing out, right? Um, so find what do you want to be known as first, right? And and then find the gap. Like what do you need, like skills or maybe knowledges to get you to be what you want to be, right? And this is not necessarily chasing like certification, but skills, right? What skills do you need? What information, knowledges, where you can find a network of people who can help you become what you want to become, and
Mhm.
then like do incremental. And I have to say this because I apply it to myself, like incrementally, like list down your goals, incrementally review it like every month. Is this still
Mm.
relevant, or should I change my goal now? um should I do something different? Is there something new that's coming up? But I would say start with what you want to become. That can be considered as your product vision. So you are a product. Um, so what vision do you have for yourself? And then like find the gaps incrementally, like review it. It's interesting that when
And
I
when you
look
say
at
incrementally review it, um, what's the tip for you a good time in between reviews, when in between increments?
um okay, so for one example, like something more tangible, like if I apply it to something that a lot of people know what I do, like uploading videos. I am one of the person who doesn't follow what many YouTubers or many content creators say. A lot of them say that you need to batch your recording, right? So let's say in 1 week, like batch 5 videos and then like upload it um, automatically, like set like a scheduler to upload those videos, for example. But I don't really, maybe because of my background, but I don't like batching like contents. So I usually like to make one, right, and then upload it and see how people respond, right?
Mm.
One metrics, I'm talking about metrics now, and I'm using a tangible example so people can like really grasp it. Let's say like contents or videos. So if you're uploading videos, I like to see how many people view it, how many people react, how many people share, those kind of metrics, right? So if that's not what you want to become, like it might be something else that you are reviewing, right? If you want to be, let's say, a trainer, for example, like how many people sign up, how many people are aware of yourself, right? If you want to be a scrum master, uh, first thing, like the leading indicators, are you getting the job first, right? If not, then probably you need to tweak your CVs or your resumes, right? Once you get in, is that the kind of scrum master or agile coach that you want to become? Like is this the kind of company you want to work at, right? And then moving on, you might want to review like how many people have you influenced, how many people have found value through your work, right? How many people understand or feel that now their work area is becoming better after you join the company, right? So that's how I would say review it. In the past, I like do personal reflection every year. And usually it's at the beginning of the year, like I introspect, like what do I want to do this year, etc. But now I do it more frequently, especially after COVID, because things change fast. In fact, what I have planned earlier this year in 2023, like I already scrapped it out by like September. That's no longer relevant. So, for examples, earlier this year, in 2023, I wanted to do more online trainings, but then like the economy changed, so I think people companies are holding back, and in certain cultures, people actually want to attend like in-person trainings, right? So do regular review, like experiments. Is that getting to where you want to be? Like, and don't be too attached, I would say, with certain outcome. Like if you need to pivot, as long as it's still aligned with your life goal, be it, right? Yeah.
I really like that, but because it's yeah, we talking in agile also about pivoting the lean startup way and a lot of things, and basically you're transforming it to your own life. I've for a very long time I've also reviewed where do I want to be the next year, the next 5 years. I usually did it during the summer holidays, but if I'm correct, summer is also in the beginning of the year in Australia. Is that correct? Is
Yes,
that
we're entering summer now. Yep. So around December, January. Yep.
So when you do it at the beginning of the year, it's also the summer season for you in a sense, if you
Yeah,
did
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
So
I
that, yeah,
usually do the same
somehow
for you.
somehow I did something similar. It really helped a lot. I didn't always, yeah, did it officially, or but during holiday seasons, so summer holidays, I really, yeah, this is things to think about. And yeah, I recognize a lot of what you say. It really made a big difference for me thinking about it. Where and like you say, sometimes after a couple of months you realize that, well, it's no longer fitting. Let's change something. That's another thing. Okay, I want to move to the next one. You've already talked a little bit about remote working during COVID. Is there something that you and did well maybe before? Did you do a lot of remote working before COVID?
No, I don't do, and a lot of engagement would be like in person. I would say, like whether that's facilitation or like enterprise agility coaching, that would be like in person. But during COVID, I get quite a lot of those offer, um, mainly to coach the leader in the company, because they're the one who's going to do the work. So a lot of those engagements are online during COVID. But before COVID, majority are like in person.
And so, is there a tip? Is there anything you've learned about remote work that you want to share with us?
Yes. I had a thought about this. I think one thing that I feel missing during remote work, work from home, is that water cooler conversation, which I value a lot. I think we are a social creature. Um, we interact with people, and those kind of small things can easily like be gone and disappear in a work from home or remote working setups.
Mm.
You can easily fall into, oh, it's just work. So when I'm doing this kind of conversation with you, like let's say through Microsoft Teams or Zoom, people may perceive that it's just work, and then along the way it becomes a routine, and then suddenly you're missing that social aspect, that water cooler conversation, that conversation, that small talk that you're having when you're going on an elevator to your office, or that tap in the shoulder, like that can easily be missed in work from home. My tip would be deliberately find ways to bring that back into remote working or work from home setup. I personally feel like work becomes mundane if it's just about routine, right? The reason why we work
Mm.
with who we work is because we like interacting with them. We have similar goals, right? Whatever the company goals are, but we have similar goals, like to drive the company forward, right? So those kind of small things can easily be missed. Or even better, there was a company that I work with. They deliberately like do several meetings that requires like intense collaborations, like in person, like in the
Mm,
office, right? Because there's so many things that can happen in parallel, especially if you implement like a good facilitation techniques. You can have a small groups working in parallel, and it doesn't um, make people quiet. I often found that like in a remote setup, um, even though we have technologies like Microsoft Teams or Zoom, sometimes when you want to do like product ideation, for example, and you want to break like the large group into smaller groups, sometimes people are more timid because, wow, should I talk? Should
mm.
I express my ideas here? Um, so this company actually acknowledged that. So like for those kind of meetings, we're going to do it in person. So it would be great if you can find excuses like for certain events or certain meetings, like to do it in persons.
I like that, and yeah, I see a lot of remote companies that have been doing remote for more than 10 years that actually, yeah, do something similar. Like, okay, we work all the time, most people remote or from whatever co-working space, but then once or twice a year we go to a hotel and we all work together physically. And at night there might be bounding activities and going out and drinking and eating and whatever. But during the day we do the same work as we normally do, or we do workshops like you just described, but we do it physically. And we spend some time to actually physically work together. And some of them do it very smart. They're like, okay, we go to hotel resorts just outside the holiday season, so the hotel is still there, all the staffs are there, but there's actually almost no other people there, and you actually have a very luxurious hotel, very nicely. It still is a little bit after summer, so still good weather or something like that, but no more tourists or something like that. So there's actually a lot of companies playing around with that. I really like that idea. Let's meet in person when we can. It's not always
Yeah.
possible,
Yeah.
but yeah. At this moment, I'm working with people from Ukraine, so that basically means the men can't leave the country at this moment. So
Mm.
that is one of the reasons why it's not possible. There's multiple other reasons
Yeah.
at other companies, but yeah, it's but it makes things a lot harder if you can't meet each other.
Yeah.
Let's move to that next question about a book. What's a book that you have read that you want to talk about? And I are you well?
Okay.
Let's start with that. Do you
Okay.
read a lot of books?
I used to like if you look at like my book racks, like I have a lot of books. I think it's related to like what I mentioned earlier, how like in the past 3 years I'm in a survival mode. So I kind of make reading books as like the last priority. So I spent a lot more time like in creating or like improving my like personal brand recognition in the market. So to be honest, I haven't read books in the past 3 years. But thank you for asking. I may need to start reading again now since um, I'm personally not in a survival mode anymore. But there's actually
Mm.
one book that I think I read this before COVID. Um, it's not related to agile, but it really changed my perspective about working with people. The book is written by Virginia Satir. Let me get it.
The satir model that looks in the book that I found looks like this. Does yours look very similar
Yeah,
than that one? Exactly the
yeah,
same, I think.
yeah. um, I don't know how I got into this book because this book, well, it's not about agile, it's not about Scrum. It's about therapy.
Mm.
How
Gestalt
you want
therapy.
to transform someone's life who may already have a bad experience in the past. But I really like, especially like her curve of transitioning. Um, that really
Ah, I
changed
should have
my
prepared that
perspective.
one. Yeah, that's a very good picture to have that.
Yeah, like it really changed my perspective. I brought that kind of um, perspective when I'm engaged in a quote unquote agile transformation or enterprise transformation. Um,
Hmm.
and I would say like her iceberg, how she mentioned there's like several level of awareness and congruence. So there's a lot of actually nuggets here, but I have just learned that it wasn't her who wrote this book, and I found that like
She
a
died
bit
years
later.
ago. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it wasn't her. It was someone else who used to work with her, who just wrote like whatever she does when she engage with her patient or clients, which is interesting. This person must be really close with Virginia Satir. Um, yes,
We
and
have,
I. Mhm.
I don't know if you know a person who was more or less active also in the agile space, Jerry
Mhm.
Weinberg. Jerry Weinberg
Oh
also
yeah, yeah. Jerry
worked
Weinberg,
with
he
her.
passed away.
He passed away a couple of years ago, but he worked also with Virginia. He was a student of her, so he was also
Oh
one of the people who made a lot of publicity about about her work and about everything
yeah.
that she done. So
I didn't
that's
know about that because when I read Jerry Weinberg book, it was about consulting, right? And
right. Secrets
Jerry
of
has a
consulting.
background in software consulting, and I didn't realize that he worked with um, Virginia,
Yeah,
and I also
he
discovered that Esther Derby used to work with Jerry Weinberg.
yes, I've been
So maybe
to
that's the relation.
the yeah the it's called uh, there is a workshop that Esther and Jerry
Don
used to do,
Oh,
and Don Gray, but now
Don Gray.
Esther and Don do the PSL, so problem solving leadership, that was actually created originally by Jerry, and he talks a lot
Oh,
about Virginia Satir. And if I can bring it on now, the thing that you just talked about, this
yeah.
is her model.
Jake.
This is a picture from Steve Smith that actually also was, I think, related also to the PSL workshop. And yeah, that's very interesting. If people are into change, the one thing I don't like about this picture is that it gives the idea that the new status quo is always higher as the late status quo, but
Yes.
that doesn't have to be. It could be that there is a transforming idea and you end up with something that is less good than the previous one. That is also a possibility. But it's a very nice one to talk about change indeed in the agile
Yes.
space, because it's you talked about focus before. Yeah, I should find it back, but I won't be able to find it while we're talking. But the model that you talked about, that I just shown, this picture, is for just one change. If we do 10 changes at the same time, it actually
It's gonna
is
be
10 times
bigger.
deeper. Exactly, and then it's yeah, it's a lot worse, because then you have multiple how does it call again, chaos things all at the same time, and then yeah, it takes a lot longer before you go again to some integration and some other things. So for indeed, if people want to learn, it's the book is written about, like you say, about therapy and about all kind of changes, but it's for me very applicable to a lot of what we do in the agile space. It's interesting to just look at it from that sense, I would say.
Yeah. There's
Um,
a lot of nuggets there. And her model about congruence, like self other context,
mm,
I did not underestimate. That was really good. And I apply that when coaching like large organization. because they may not feel this is who they are. And we may see that as a resistance, but once we understand that, it can be a powerful tool. Like you can have a good understanding how to engage people like in a transformation. Yeah, there's a lot of nuggets here, actually, interestingly.
Yeah, it's yeah, and like you say, maybe you read now a little bit less, but still at the same time you bring a book. It's I think it's already quite, I don't know, I think it's about 10 years old, but like you said, it's about her. It's about her model, but she didn't really write it herself. But already old, and sometimes it's really good to remind people about, hey, this is actually some of the things that are have inspired a lot of people um, inside and outside the agile world for coaching and for lots of different kind of things. So it's really good that you bring that up, because typically, yeah, sometimes people think we should talk about the latest book in agile, but maybe there's we should not forget about some of the older nuggets and the older things, like the book that we talked about, the Mike Beadle book, the black one with the colors. This is another gem that is really interesting, that's a little bit older. So thanks for bringing that up. Um, I want to move to, for me, one of the most interesting questions is, what question do you think I should also ask you, and what's the answer? Yeah. Is there something that we didn't talk about that you think, hey, Eve, that's really a question that I like to answer?
Uh no, you have given me a lot of difficult questions, actually.
Is there anything else you still want to talk about, that maybe not a question or something else that you say, this is,
Ah, can it be for you? Can it be for you, or does it
that
has
can be for me, yes.
to?
Late at night, I'm open to anything. So,
All right, all right, all right. This is maybe a hypothetical stuff. But I like to ask like crazy questions. Um, with like everything that we see at the moment. One
mhm.
is the rise of AI, and then second, the economic downturn that's happening in many countries around the world. Um, what do you think is next in the world of work?
Mm. Wow, that's a deep question indeed. What's the next thing?
I
But after
understand.
asking all these questions, yeah, I understand that. Um, one of the things I always seem that I don't even know who told me that, but it's like a lot of things when we want to predict the future, we always overestimate the short term and we underestimate the long term. I think, yeah, same thing with AI. We think like, okay, this will change the world like next year, and that's probably never going to happen. But long term, that will have a lot more effect. And um, do I worry for jobs and everything? Will there be less jobs? I don't think so, because I do think a lot of technologies has changed the world in many different things, but I do think it will change what are the things that we're doing. And already I see it just with, yeah, simple questions that sometimes I don't always like writing text or whatever. I could ask ChatGPT to give me an example of a text, and then I can improve it. That helps me in multiple kind of ways. Uh, I My daughter once told me that she asked me some questions about, could you give me a difficult exercise for mathematics, and because at some point I didn't have
Mm,
quickly time, so she just asked ChatGPT give her some exercise. So that was a different. Some people use it to give answers, and other people give it to give questions. Okay, what's a good question to ask? For example, a job candidate. What's a good question? I have a Scala developer. Okay, what should I ask this person? Okay, you should still look at the answer to see is that actually relevant. But that I think it's for me these kind of things are having an impact in the way we do it. But I think it's always, and it's a little bit like what you talked about earlier about your 3D tool. You can use it in all kinds of ways, but you can also use it. The more, I think, the more expert you are, the better we can use some of that. And have impact on that. Same thing for the economy. There is a downturn, but I think we have seen many downturns already in the years. It also means that I've seen people need to think much more, a little bit like you do. How do I stay relevant? I think we have to keep learning. We have to keep doing it. My son, who's the oldest one, who's at university, when he first had to select it, for him it's like hard to select a kind of direction, and for him it was like, this is the most important decision in my life. And I'm like, in a way yes, but in a way no, because whatever you do, it will be, yes, it will be triggered by your study, but you will go into multiple different kind of ways. A little bit like you say, you were interested in 3D, you moved on to the other stuff, and then you are still a content creator so many years later, but has totally nothing to do with the 3D modeling. It was probably still, yeah, there was already some trigger about content and whatever. So um, will we overcome that economic downturn? Yes, I do hope that there is better regulations, I would say, at global level, because sometimes you see that the countries play against each other to have companies, a lot of taxes or whatever, and then that worries me. The fact that the number of billionaires has quadrupled, and especially the money that they have is like insanely higher, and then the normal people, I would say, that money didn't change much, hourly rate and stuff like that. Uh, I hope that we get better regulations, that we get smarter at that kind of level. I have no idea if that will be the case, yes or no. That is something that is indeed to be foreseen. Is that an answer to your question?
I just like having because you mentioned like questions to ask, and I personally found it hard to find someone at the same frequency to talk about this topic. So I thought you
Mm.
might be the right person to talk about it, and you're going to publish this online, right?
Yes, yes. I have to say I need to look at, because I'm actually very forward. During the summer, I worried that I didn't have many videos recorded, and so I did a lot of sending emails and reminding people about recording. And now I'm very far ahead, so I need to calculate when it will be published. So I can't promise it at this moment. But that gives me a little bit more ease for the next coming weeks, because I don't need to do many recordings. Still, I need to do the editing and everything. I do, opposite of you, I do publish it every week, but I do that mostly to protect myself, because indeed, like now, I think I have at least 10 videos recorded, and it's
Oh,
very tempting to say, let's all publish them all at once, or
yeah.
like every 2 3 days. But then I would be busy all day editing, and that's like, no, once a week, it's already hard enough with clients, with other work, with family, and so
Yeah.
that's it's except if I find a team that wants to help out editing, then I can publish twice a week, whatever. As long as I don't have that, like, let's stay with
Once a week is good, right? Because people are anticipating every week.
officially that should be the thing. I'm still, yeah, I'm not, I don't have that many subscribers as you have, so it's still like looking a little bit, and there is a big difference. There's one week that it could be like double or triple the number than the next week, and I can't always figure out what makes that difference. It's, yeah, it's not always because it's a higher bigger name in agile that more people click on it.
No.
For some agile names that is true, but others it's sometimes a little bit lesser known person, but then lots of friends are really happy about seeing it, and so yeah, I can't really predict that. And
Dave
talking
Farley is
about
doing good.
Dave Farley is doing crazy good.
Yeah.
That's indeed
He's my
that's
inspiration.
insane.
Yeah.
Oh, I think for many people, I actually when I originally started this video series, my children said, "Yeah, YouTube Agile. That's just so small. Nobody will watch it." And I said, "Well, you look, there is Dave. That's what? So
Yeah.
many people. Is Agile so big? Yeah, Agile became big in many
And he's
different
like
ways."
his topic is very technical, but like the views is really high. So amazing. He's so inspiring.
Well, I think it shows also if you know what you're doing, you know what you're talking about, and you do have, because let's face it, on the internet, there's a gazillion things now on YouTube about Scrum, and some of them are really horrible. Same thing for some of the technical stuff, and yeah, there's that. So and in that sense, I'm really happy that he's one who has a very good. Channel. It's I don't know if it's still the case, but when he started, his son was helping him out for editing and some other stuff. So
Oh,
it's also a nice thing to have it. To I like to do also things with my children to invite them on stage, and he's doing something similar with his son. Again, I don't know if it's still the case, but I think a year or two ago that was the case. And so
okay.
that's really nice because you can do something together. In my fantasy, he's focusing on the content, and his son helping out on editing. Although, yeah, he's also very much aware of some of the things, because when I was first looking into some of the tools, it's indeed one of the people I contacted to ask for help for some of the things to do. Um, but he's the yeah, of course, his way of recording is completely different than what I
Yeah.
do. He's
It's so
really
good.
prepared. It's really fun. Oh,
Yeah.
wait, also just the t-shirts, everything around it. It's the fun way. So I'll definitely link to Dave as well for the
Yeah,
people that
definitely. Yeah, yeah. He's
don't know
inspiring.
that.
Yeah.
Well, and talking about other people, what is a person that you think I should also invite?
All right. So I actually had a thought about this. There is a lady, and I would like to get more women on your show.
Hmm.
So she's so inspiring. I follow her on LinkedIn. I mean, what she does may not be specifically on like agile, but in general software development. And she's making quite an impact in like software development community in Australia. I'm trying to find, is there any chat
There
here
is a
that I
chat,
can
but
link
I
her
think
so
I
you can.
prepared it. That's the name you sent to me, right?
Oh no, I'll send it to you
Okay.
later on.
There is indeed a chat. Okay.
Michelle Playfair.
Michelle Playfair. Okay.
So Michele. That's her first name. So it's one L. Michelle
Hmm.
Playfair. Her last name is Playfair.
I see.
Playfair.
From Melbourne, right?
Yes, she's doing. I followed her for a while. She started as a quality assurance slash tester. But she's helping out a lot of like people in the community. Like she's promoting a lot of community events, community effort. I personally would say like what she's doing like in Australian like software development community in general, like not just agile, it's quite impactful. So yeah, I would like you to interview her and listen to your conversation with her.
And if I'm correct, that's her, right?
Yes, that's her.
I quickly Googled her, so that was a little bit of risk to have a wrong picture,
Yeah,
but that's also part of if you talk
she's on
about
LinkedIn.
trying something and failing. I took that picture from LinkedIn indeed. Um, It's interesting you say we want to have more women on the show, because that's actually something that I found really important, to have enough diversity in general in multiple directions, not just gender. It's also different countries. It's very interesting that now from Australia I have two people from Brisbane, which is a little bit interesting. But still, there's I didn't want to have a purely European American thing. When I first started, because this started as a blog
A book, right?
and a
Because you
book.
interviewed me
Uh,
in a book before.
yeah, and in the book, I my hope for the book was 50% women, and I made the mistake to invite 50% women, and most women, well, not most, but many by default said, "Yeah, I don't think I belong," and so I never got answers from. I think it was like 30% in the book. And so in this series, I'm actually above 50%. 50%.
Woo!
There's more than, I think it's 52 at this moment of women
Yes.
in the show. But I have to invite like a lot more women and send a lot
Oh,
more. It's
if you
interesting
interview
because
her, Michelle,
Mhm.
she's really passionate in that space. So she would like to level up more women in tech space. So like just that we're talking about now. So at the end of your show, when you ask her, you will get tons of like reference to women in the tech space from her because that's her passion, and that's what I like
That's
about
that
her.
that's really good, and that's actually one of the things I wanted to add to that as well. Is the very interesting part in at the book level is that I had a few women saying, "Yeah, thank you, and we really have to have more women invited." And then they gave me a list of people to invite, and there were no women in that list. I was like, wait, you actually see? Yeah, but these are really important. Yes, that's true. But if you really want to do it, and it's very tempting for people then to not even realize it, because there was one woman that really, like, when I replied to her, I know you're fighting for this, you want more visibility, and now you give me a list of 4 men. Did you realize it? And she was so mad at herself because she didn't even realize it. It was like, yeah, but it's very tempting, and I had the same mistake. In the beginning, the book was way too European, American, too white. I really had to work hard on having diversity at multiple levels. So it is important to spend it, and it's not because these people are not there. They are there, and
They're
indeed,
there.
10 years ago in the book, my network was way too male. I really need to up my game and make sure that I had more women in my network, and then it gradually grows, and now it's a little bit easier. But
Yeah.
still, the reaction of a lot of men is like I'm making a caricature or out of it, but a lot of the first reaction of men is like, "Yes, I've been waiting for that invitation. Thank you." And the default reaction of women is like, "Are you sure you want me in it?" And it's like, yes, I do.
Michelle is outspoken, so
Yeah, that will.
she's really
So that
confident,
will.
and she likes raising people up. So you'll get tons
That's
of like references to women in tech, especially in Australia from her. Like I'm really confident with that.
that's really good. That's really nice to do that. Well, Joshua, I really want to thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you
The
for
last
having me.
question that I typically ask is, what's a good way for people to contact you? I already showed you your
Agile
YouTube
comedy.
channel, so I'll
Yeah.
I'll bring it up again. That's the where people
Yeah.
can find you. If they want to contact you, what would be a good way? Can they contact you through to YouTube as well, or?
I think like in the about tab, uh like you can see the email there, but you have to verify yourself first.
Yeah, because we don't want spammers too much on that. That's just why I will never put out the email address here, even if it's if you can't copy paste it directly from a video. I'm still a little bit worried indeed about giving out email addresses, but people
Yeah.
will be able to find you. So really thankful for your time.
Thank
It's
you
been
for
as
staying
fun
up
as
really
I
late.
Yes, it's close to 2 o'clock now, but it's been so much fun. Of course, the coffee
Yeah.
helped to stay up. Let's see
I
how
ran out of
easy it will
water.
be. Ah, so I can
It
give you
was like
some more. I can
full.
give you some more.
Thank you, Eves. Was thank
It's
you
been
for having me. Thank you for inviting, by the way.
yeah, it's been fun, as much fun as I thought it would be. So yeah, thank you very much, and I do hope that, like I said earlier, I might not be going too much to conferences, but I still hope from time to time to go to one or two in the couple of things, and so maybe we might run into each other.
Yeah, for sure. Good night. Enjoy your night. Have a good dream.
And, and enjoy the rest of your day because you're the future. So
All right.
Thank you
Thank
for
you, Eve.
watching Who's Agile, where the stories of agilists come to life. I hope you liked today's interview. Subscribe if you're not subscribed and want to get to know other agilists.